Okay. Good
And I'm
afternoon.
straightening. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
It was not there for a second. All right, now I'm muting myself.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the January 2021 Task Force, NISKI Unit Task Force on Racial Equity and Justice meeting. It's 6:01 p.m. and at this point, we're missing a few people. We have less than a quorum, and we do have a full agenda to proceed with. So I'm a little concerned. I'm going to do my standard welcome and call to order, and then we'll discuss how we should proceed tonight. We'll do a quick roll call and proceed. Okay?
Dale, I'm sorry. I think we have a quorum. I think it's 10. So when Larry joins us, we'll have 11, but I think we have 10 right now. So I think we're good on a quorum, I think.
We have Jamie.
Yeah,
That's right.
okay,
We
we
have
have 10. Okay, I didn't see Jamie on my screen. Welcome, Jamie. So now we have a quorum and we'll just proceed. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to the work of the task force. The meeting agenda was sent out. This is the call to order, and I'll take a brief roll call. So when I call your name, you can just unmute and say aye, and we'll indicate that all other persons who have not appeared are absent. Arinka Abad.
Hi.
David Amadeo.
Aye.
Angela Antikowski. Dale Black Pennington. Aye. Kataki Badhankar.
Aye.
Alan Gadsden Jr. Sandra Griffin.
Here.
Dr. Hayward Horton. Priti Irani.
Aye.
John Lemelin.
Aye.
Jillian Margolis.
Aye.
Elizabeth Paul.
Aye.
Dr. Jamie, I'm sorry, Jamie. I didn't mean to butcher your name. Dr. Jamie Puccioni.
You got it. Here.
Larry Ritter. I just saw Larry log in. I don't know. I know he was having technical difficulties, but we'll mark him present. He's going to be present until 7, and hopefully he'll be able to participate. And Devon Wembley sent an email today indicating that he would not be able to appear. I'll note also that we do not have an attorney from the town. So we will have to discuss how we will proceed. And Kay, that would really be an issue for your presentation. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there in the agenda. At this time, our very first topic would be the approval of the minutes from December 9th, 2020. I'll open the floor. Does anyone have any comments or wish to discuss any part of the minutes from December? Okay. Do I have a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes from December 9th, 2020?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth Paul moved, and Kay second. Oh gosh, I'll just run through everyone that's here. Arinka, do you wish to vote on the meeting minutes? Approved or disapproved?
Approve.
David,
Approved.
Kay,
Approved.
Sandra,
Approved.
Pretty,
Approved.
John,
Approved.
Jillian,
Approved.
Jamie,
Approved.
Elizabeth.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. And that's it. The meeting minutes have been approved unanimously.
Dale, how do you vote? Sorry.
Oh, I approve. I approve. I'm sorry. I skipped my name. I apologize.
We lost Larry again. He was there for a brief moment.
Yeah.
John, perhaps he can call in if there's a dialing number.
All right, I'll check with him, and I'll also I'll confirm that he's okay with the meeting minutes as well.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a brief discussion of the task force charge document. The charge document was sent to the town board and the town attorney with CCs or copies to everyone on the task force. So we have met our initial requirement to at least advise the town of our structure and our work groups and our processes so far. So that has been done. I'll open the floor to any comments. If anyone wishes to comment on the charge document and its submission. Okay, I see head shaking no. So I guess that means we'll move on to the next matter. Communication with the public.
One second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
John, did you send me a copy? Did I get one?
A copy of what? The charge
The
document?
charge. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It was sent to you. It's redundant. I sent it twice because I sent it for review by everyone, and then I CC'd everyone on the copy that was sent to the town. So you should have it at least twice.
Yes, I just checked and I see that it was sent, and Liz, you commented that it looked good.
Oh.
Thanks. So we'll move on then, and Kay, I'll turn the floor to you. I know it'll probably be brief regarding communication with the public.
Again, this is something that requires Paul's participation or somebody from his office's participation. So would you suggest that we move forward with the next topic in the hopes that maybe Paul or somebody from his office is joining in later and we can discuss this topic later? If not, we will have.
He just
Sorry,
emailed me and he's asking me to resend him the link, which I just sent him. So hopefully he will be joining in a minute. So hopefully we're locating him and getting him on. Okay.
Okay.
So you could probably move forward and hopefully he'll get here soon. Thanks.
Okay, so then we'll just move on.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry.
Oh, hi, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Welcome back. Larry, we took a vote on
Can I just ask a question? Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes, can you hear us? Can you hear me? I don't think he can hear us. Larry, John, can you send him a text?
Yeah, I'll text him.
Okay. Okay, is everybody okay with me moving on to the next item on the agenda? Okay, so I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Puccioni, who will address task force work group.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Larry. Can you hear us? Hello, Larry?
You can hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Okay, John, you may want to text him again.
Okay. I did get a text from Larry and he approves the minutes, so we're good on the vote.
Okay. Okay, Jamie, I'll turn the floor over to you to get the updates on our work groups.
Okay, I will be just facilitating the working group discussions and basically getting updates from each working group, as it's available. So we'll go ahead and start with the public safety work group.
Okay, I'll start with an update and then Larry, I'll let you to add whatever I miss. As we've talked about in the past, the public safety working group is up and running, and we're continuing our work. A majority of our work is actually focused on supporting the Niskayuna Police Collaborative work. So that is a very aggressive effort by the town to satisfy the executive order 203 for the state governor. So we've been assigned, or we've been asked to volunteer and work with group number 3 in that police collaborative. And within group 3, we were assigned to respond to 6 questions. So a special call out to Jillian. She took the lead on drafting our responses to the 6 questions, which was wonderful. Other people working include Larry, Dale, and Sandra, all people from our group that are helping work directly with the public safety working group with the police collaborative. So quick status right now, we're finalizing our responses. There's actually a meeting almost every week with Brian Backus and the rest of group 3 to talk about each one of our answers and questions and responses. Once that's done, I think it'll only be another week or so that there'll be another small group of people that'll consolidate the responses from our group 3, along with groups 1, 2, and 4, and create a final police reform plan. That document goes to the board for their review and update and approval, and then it'll be released to the public for public review and comment. It'll be updated, I'm sure, based on the public review and comment, and then ultimately it'll be published to the governor in response to the executive order. So all that has to be done by April 1st. And because of the public comment, obviously we have to get our work done very, very quickly. So again, thanks to Jillian, I think we're on schedule for our participation in that. So that's kind of my quick update.
Does anyone have any questions to follow up? Pretty? Saw you raise your hand. Unmute. Larry can hear us. But Pretty,
All right,
we can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me now? Yeah, my mouse is a little crazy. John, just a quick question. The responses and the questions, are they in the folder in that Google Drive? The question is, we have a Google Drive with your safety work group. Are the questions and responses in that folder?
I think the questions are, we have a separate Google Drive for the Niskayuna Police Department, which is where we're keeping all of our documents right now. I don't know that they're in our working group public safety folder, but we can certainly drop them in there. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, that would be helpful just to kind of have an idea what is happening. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do that, definitely.
I can put those in the Google Drive folder for everyone to access. It's just definitely be aware that it's all rough draft, like rough draft.
So Jillian, you'll put that into the public safety working group folder. Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Pretty.
you.
Thank you, John.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Pretty. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay, moving on. Next in the list is public services. Some of these groups have not been populated as of yet. So I know that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And some groups will begin their work now because they have deadlines, like the public safety. But just keep this on the radar that as some groups finish up their work, we'll then be moving on to populating the next working groups. And this will be one that will need attention. Anybody have any questions or interests in this working group? Jillian?
I was just going to give a brief update on the slow and steady progress that our group is making right now.
Oh dear, I skipped over community services. That was not purposeful. I'm going to get to you. Can I just finish the public services and then I'll come back to you? Okay.
Sorry, I thought you said community services. My bad.
Did
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's 6:17, and even though I had a Pike Place tall coffee, no, I'm not sponsored by Starbucks, but it just doesn't still seem to be doing the trick. So I just want to let everybody know, as of now, I don't think we've had anyone volunteer to participate or lead the public services work group. And is there anyone who wants to take the lead and start doing some of the planning for that group now? Okay, we'll keep that on the radar and we will come back to it. Let's move on and hear the report from Community Service Work Group.
All right. Just a quick update. Liz, David, and I met a couple times just to discuss some ideas. Right now, we're just brainstorming different ideas for the group because it's very small. We have two ideas that we have in the works. One of them is we heard from Alexis Kim, the kind of forum that Niskayuna Town Board uses to send out questionnaires, send out surveys. So we want to use a user-friendly questionnaire survey so that everyone can access it, so that we can get a grasp of ideas that people want to discuss in the town, issues that they would like to learn about. We don't want, to set something up and have it fall on deaf ears. So we want to have a better understanding of the town's interests. One of our ideas was to have the town historian kind of talk about the history of Niskayuna. And that goes into our second idea, where we want to have people, we could have guest speakers come to us on Zoom or Google Forum, discussing ideas and topics of their specialty, like having sociology professors from Union College potentially coming in, and we'll have a little meeting and they can talk about their areas of expertise, and the town can watch during it while it's live, or they can, watch if it's posted on YouTube. But our goal right now is to kind of understand what the public would like, and then potentially have a expert come and do a talk for us. And one of the ideas was to have someone talk about like what happened at the Capitol. That was something that Liz was very interested in. Jamie.
So I'm thinking about how a major component of our work is to collect data and analyze that data to determine if there are any racial disparities. So I'm wondering if the group has used the template that John suggested to also help organize your work. Because I think that's definitely a major component of our charge.
Right now, I am in the process of working on that. I'm probably like halfway done with that document. It's just because the group is small and I'm hoping that more people are interested in joining the group. I didn't want to finish it and have it only be a very small number of people creating that plan. Liz.
Okay. I also invited some community members to join our group, not as a member, but they can listen and they can give us some feedbacks how to move forward with their ideas with the racial equity problems, plus minorities, so one of the former student from Niskuna is interested, so he's a lawyer. So he said he would like to join in the working group from outside. Is there a problem with that, or?
No, this is Paul Briggs. You can have public people participate. They just, as you pointed out, they're not a member of the task force, but they can participate in your meetings.
Okay, thank you. And he can sit with us too, right, for discussion and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. We're good.
Thank you, Jamie.
Were there any other questions for the community service work group? Sandra?
I actually have a quick question. And I don't know if this is a bit provocative, but I'm not sure how the Capitol or those events relate to the parks, senior center, our community programs, or what, or Niskuna. So I don't want us to go too far afield from our charge. So I'm a little, and please let me know if I'm being provocative by asking that question. It was just tugging at me. Jillian?
I mean, I think that is totally fair. I agree with Liz that I think that someone from the Capitol should probably say something about what happened, because we haven't heard anything from the Capitol yet. No one has really come out and spoken about what happened. I was personally interested in the town lowering the flag for the death of the police officer that was trying to protect the Capitol. And I think that doesn't necessarily fit in with our small working group. It definitely doesn't fit in with our charge specifically. But I would love to hear just the town of Niskuna just make like a small public statement just about the position of peace, the position of non-violence, stuff like that.
Also, Dale, if, it's a racial equity, that's our task force, right? For an example, because it was all mostly white people had the demonstrations at the Capitol Hill. If you take an example of the Black Lives Matters, if you see a colored person doing this and the outcome from that incident, how can you compare with these two, incidents? I think it's a good subject to have an open talk discussions. Maybe we can learn something because we are raising, this is a school, very modern, close-knit community in Niskayuna. We have a lot of children. That's one of the reasons people are coming here, to raise their children in a good school district and with the good people. And yet they are watching and witnessing what happened in our capital with our president. Okay, and our elected president and vice president is a colored lady and a woman. What are you guys going to tell them? We have to teach them something, some basics. But it's
we need to come back to, really, we have I'm just going to present. I want to present just to remind everyone that our charge is our charge is to establish a shared understanding of the term equity, collect socioeconomic and racial data on residents of the town, assess and analyze whether town programs, policies, practices, services, and public engagement efforts exacerbate racial disparities, develop a framework for an equitable approach to decision-making, define a plan to address and resolve racial disparities, and recommend an allocation of appropriate resources, establish equity targets and measures as part of an equity action plan, recommend a plan for ongoing community input and dialogue relative to race and equity issues, initiatives, and programs. So we have our work, and yes, it's in the context of larger state issues, national issues, and international issues. But I also want to remind everyone that in order to accomplish our goal, our charge, we have to be focused on the goals. And so we have to find a good balance between contextualizing our work, but then making sure our work is grounded in the charge. And I'm a little concerned that some of this work and our conversations are going outside of the work. Now, Sandra, you also had your hand raised, and I want to make sure that you are heard. So I'm going to mute myself, and I'd like you to have the floor, please.
Okay, I just have two questions in reference to allowing community people to be involved in a work group, although they're not a work group. Do you still have to abide by if it's more than 8, we need to put a notice out? That was the first question logistically. My second question is, in terms of housing in the Niskayuna area, is that something that we would cover in terms of economically?
Well, I can answer the first question. This is Paul Briggs. Adding public members to the meeting or to a subgroup does not impact the open meetings law. So the numbers, it's only the members that, just like the town board, can't have more than 3 people in a meeting. The same with your group. It doesn't matter how many other people participate as long as you maintain the right numbers of your members. And the second question, I don't know the answer.
Dale, you raised your hand. Was this to provide a response to Sandra or to ask a follow-up question?
Actually, it was to provide a response to Sandra regarding the second question as to whether or not housing is covered in terms of what we're doing. And to the extent that the town manages or supervises buildings, which is covered under public services, and also taxes having to do with housing, and policies in terms of planning, and the board would be covered under town administration. So the different work groups will be addressing housing and different aspects of how housing is administered in the town. Jamie?
And Sandra, I will be taking the lead on, well, unless, other people decide someone wants to take the lead, but I will be participating in the town finance and town administration work group. And I do anticipate that topic falling under those work groups in some form or capacity.
Thank you.
And again, I don't want to be provocative either. And you'll hear me say that message probably more than once about just making sure, and I'll fall back on my teaching experience. I have aspirational goals of what I'd like to accomplish as an educator, and then I have what's practical and realistic. And I try to really be narrow in my focus so that I can do a few things really well rather than trying to do a lot of things not well. So I see a few more hands raised. Jillian and Dale, I'll mute myself.
I just wanted to say I think you make a very good point, Jamie. And I do agree with that. Definitely more of an aspiration rather than something that's probably a doable thing. So, yeah.
And I just wanted to throw out there a suggestion. I understand and acknowledge Liz and Jillian, and I'm sure others of us that have a concern about what's going on or what went on last week. And since we are a task force that addresses racial equity and justice in the town of Niskayuna, if the members would like, we could send a statement to the board requesting that they maybe lower the flag to half mast in acknowledgement of the loss of life, or conduct some sort of commemoration regarding that matter. But that would be up to a majority of our membership to want to take a special action. And if you suggest that as a leader, and we have a majority of the group that wishes to do so, I am perfectly willing to send a email letter to the board requesting something along those lines. So I'm just going to put that out there, but I don't think that it's contained in our charge to be reactionary to all events that happen or to be too partisan. I would prefer that we try to be neutral, because we do have a very serious matter in terms of actually doing research and making a sober determination. If we appear partisan, people will question the outcome of our research.
Okay.
So
that sounds good. Very good. Thanks. Thank you.
Kay, I see you had your hand raised.
Yes, I was going to address some more operational aspects of something that Jillian said in her update. You mentioned something around community involvement, as well as a survey that you guys have in the very drafting stages. Once we discuss the communication protocols and processes with Paul later on today, I'll request that you guys reach back to the leadership team so we can take that process forward as and when you guys are ready.
Absolutely. We know that Liz, me, and David, like, our job is not to communicate with the town board. That is totally up to the leadership. That is not our responsibility or in our jurisdiction. So yeah, absolutely. We would run everything by you guys.
Okay, moving forward, I thank you so much for that. I really appreciate public services, community services, the work you all have put in to date. I think it's really wonderful and it's commendable because, full disclosure, I'm feeling pretty fatigued. It's winter and it's in between semesters for me. So I've stepped back a little and now I'm ready to move forward. And with that, I just want to let everybody know that the town finance work group and town admin work group, I will be starting to facilitate some of that work coming up. And I will, I'm encouraged if anyone else would like to join me in those groups, feel free to let me know now, or I will follow up with an email to everyone and see who is interested. And then we will start moving forward with some preliminary work, organizing, making plans, collecting data, and so on and so forth. Any questions about that? So we have data and best practices on the list here. They are also appearing under additional topics. So would that group like to go ahead and report on their progress to date, or would you like to wait until we get to the additional topics portion of the agenda?
This is Preeti. I can report. It'll be short because there's questions that you can, maybe when Kay talks with Paul, that they'll come up. We are hoping to start. I know that I wanted to start actually in January, but it was unclear how the communication would go forward. So I proposed starting in February. So I looked at the town calendar, and it looks like Tuesdays and Thursdays there are minimal conflicts. So one date I'm going to throw forward is February 2nd, which is a Tuesday. But like I said, and I would like a particular day of the week, because if I can do it in consecutive months, I would like that date, something constant. So I'm going to suggest February 2nd. The meeting will be open to the public. Arinka has agreed to be the co-chair of the group. So both of us will co-chair the group. What I do have questions about is, okay, how do I get, okay, that's okay to do this work group? It'll be a public work group, and I am very open to being transparent and getting the word out. That's fine. So how long, how do you want me to get the agenda to you? How do you want me to get how much beforehand do you want me to get like the handouts to you? The first meeting, I was thinking, will really focus on people just sharing their strengths and beginning some of the work. What I'm thinking is the first 3 meetings or 3 or 4 meetings will be focused on developing a shared understanding. And consecutively, while we're talking, we'll be developing a question bank. And so that's what I'll facilitate in the first meeting. Will be mostly getting to know each other and building what we call trust. But we'll begin some of the work. So my questions are the trust building exercise, and I was just looking at this. I'm not very familiar with Google Meet, but I noticed there was an icon which said breakout rooms. The reason I was hesitant about using Google Meet is because from what I read on the web, they had just started doing these breakout rooms, but were only offering it to some groups. But if we can do breakout groups over here, and I was thinking groups of 2 or 3, we could use this. But I would need help, and I would need to practice this before the date, so I'll know it works. So okay. So the questions are: is February 2nd okay? I have the agenda. I have the handouts. Can we test out the breakout rooms? And in terms of the outreach from the town, is it like you'll mostly put it on the website saying this meeting is happening? Or does it also go out to the press? How does that work? What's the process? I would also be reaching out for youth representation. I noticed the school sent out an email, I think it was last week, saying certain town committees and boards were looking for youth representation. The task force was not included in that list. So I would encourage that we should be included in the list. But in any case, for this group, I was going to reach out and get some youth representation. And I'll reach out on my own and, through whatever networks I have. The town has a great network considering 75 people signed up to be on this task force. The idea behind this is if you can get shared understanding among more of the task force, more of the residents in the town, the better. That's really where the thinking comes from. So I'm ready to get going, just waiting to see how I can get going. That's it. Arika, did you have any other comments to add?
No, I am in the same page with you.
All right, great. Thanks, Ari.
Okay.
So, Preeti, I know we have some of those questions kind of on the paper for Paul to discuss, but I just want to reiterate something that Paul said earlier regarding the meeting date. And I think what Paul said, and Paul, please correct me if I'm wrong, as long as there are not more than 7 members of the task force, this is not an open meeting, correct? There can be any number of public attendees, but the task force attendees should be less than 7 for it to not be under the open meeting law. Was that correct, Paul?
That is correct.
So if that's the case, I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
If you're going to be inviting the public, then you need to, all of these subcommittee meetings need to be noticed on the town calendar.
Okay.
And when you're ready, I'll answer the questions about how we're going to communicate to the public.
Gotcha.
And just to tell you, Kay, I think having open meetings is good practice, whether it's required by law or not. And especially with this group where we need to have more dialogue, I think as much as we can let people know what we're doing and invite them in, I think that's a good thing.
Okay, so let's we'll wrap up there with the working group updates, and let's go ahead and move back to the communication with the public. Okay, go ahead and move forward, and I will mute myself now.
Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Paul. I'm glad you could join us today. The communication protocols document was shared with the task force members as well as the attorney's office. This is basically us trying to get an understanding of what are the protocols that most town committees follow, practices and expectations around public outreach as we start to kind of lay the foundation of some of our work groups, which will involve, community outreach and forums, surveys, and things like that. So as we lay the foundation for this work, we just wanted to make sure that we're all clear and all on the same page on what those communication practices look like. So Paul, if you're okay, I can just move forward with the questions then.
Yes, sure.
So our first question was, what are the channels that are available to us to communicate with the public?
So you need to keep in mind when we're addressing all of these questions that the task force is a force or a committee appointed by the town board. And as with all town committees, and we have a number of them, they all report to the town board or through a town official, either in my office or a town board member. We have a pretty successful communication with the public through the town website, and we have quite an extensive email list of residents that have signed up that receive town emails. those are the two main methods of communication with the public. Committees don't directly communicate with newspapers or media outlets. That's always done through either my office or the town board. So the channels, the best channels are email and the town website.
Okay, great. So Paul, something we observed when the notice to apply for the task force went out, I believe there was also something similar in the I believe it's called the Your Niskayuna periodical that appears in Daily Gazette. Is that also a channel that through the town board we can broadcast?
Yes, so we often put informational communications in the newspaper. For instance, the most common one is, for instance, yard waste pickup. I know that's one that so yes, if we feel that we want to reach beyond the town, we do have the option of asking or issuing a press release so that we hope that the newspaper would then publicize an invitation of that type. But again, that's done through my office, and then I do it through the town. I report to the town board.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So yes, we can use that. It's not often that we do that, but it's an option.
Okay. Okay. So that kind of answers my second question indirectly, because we will move through the town board or the town attorney's office. So Paul, would you suggest that your office is a point person or somebody on the town board is a point person for this communication?
It would be me.
Okay, perfect. It also answers my third question. The fourth question also is, Paul, you addressed that about whether subgroup meetings that invite public to follow a town meeting calendar. I'm assuming the answer is yes, we would want to follow up with the town calendar. And I just want to confirm, is Lisa Stevens probably the best way for us to organize that meeting as well?
Yes, it is. Lisa can help with that, but I can also. We have our IT, the head of our IT department is Bill Lawrence. So whenever, he's the one that often posts many of the notices that are on the town website. But he's the end product that I send to, or Lisa would send to. And that takes us to, I'm not trying to jump ahead, but if you want to have the public involved in a subgroup, then you need to request that it be put out as an invite on Google. And Google is, right now, we actually ran into this a couple days ago when we were at the town, many of the town employees were involved in an equity lecture or an equity workshop, and we wanted to go into subgroups. Google Meet doesn't have that capacity, and there's no question that Google Meet has its limitations. There's been some complaints about it, but it's the form that we're using presently. And right now, there's no ability to break into subgroups on that media platform.
Paul, can I interject something?
Certainly.
So I was talking earlier when there were less people in the group. We can't do breakouts in a public meeting that is live streamed and also recorded, but you can do them because we do have the G Suite. The town has that for their meetings. You can do that in meetings that are not live streamed or recorded.
Yes.
Which might work for the workout group, for the work groups, but wouldn't work for this group. So I just wanted to let you know about that.
But if your meetings are going to be public, in which they are, you really, I strongly recommend that you do everything through Google Meet, so it's announced on the town. Even your subcommittee meetings do not need to be public. We have committee meetings all the time that are not streamed, especially when we used to meet in person, but.
I have a question. What I'm proposing is a public meeting. It will not be streamed, but it will be recorded. When we break out into breakout rooms, that part cannot be recorded because you are in breakout rooms. But, and really, you don't even want to record it because it's an informal conversation. And it'll be for a short while. So my question is, the only reason I want breakout rooms is because it gets people a little bit more kind of comfortable speaking up after the meeting. It's a trust building exercise. And as you mentioned, Google Meet is trying to catch up with Zoom, which is great with breakout rooms. We have members or people who have ability to use Zoom. So I'm wondering whether we can record it, and we'll use Zoom. We can allow the recording to be shared. And like you said, it's a subgroup meeting. So it's technically not under the open meeting law, but yet we do want to keep it as open as possible and not and balance the trust issue also with it, because I think if you don't have breakout sessions, the meetings are not as participative. The meetings are just not as interactive and not as much fun, to be honest. Like as you see in our task force meeting, we just are not getting any input from the residents right now. And that's not ideal. So it's trying to balance, getting resident participation, just not input, but participation, active participation. So I was going to suggest that maybe for our meeting then on February 2nd, we would use Zoom, record it, have the minutes also, a transcript of the minutes. And if that's okay, then we'd go ahead and do that.
I would say it's not okay.
No, and that is because?
You're a town committee. You need to use the town. If you're going to record a meeting, it needs to be done through Google Meet.
Does the town have, I'm just trying to think, how do we get it to be participative? Because Google Meet is not allowing participation.
It's a problem we're working on. We don't have an answer right now. The only answer would be to change to a different format, and the town isn't ready to do that.
Because that kind of holds the task force, especially an equity task force. It kind of makes us pretty weak. I mean, we're not doing our job then, right, Paul? So, I mean, it's a conflict.
Well, maybe, is it possible to, in the meantime, to potentially hold multiple sessions? Because we also don't know how many people are going to even attend. It might be the case that a small enough amount of people attend one session that it can be participatory. And then if you find the numbers are burgeoning and it's you're not able to facilitate trust building activities and participation, then perhaps you move to holding like multiple sessions. And then hopefully we can get to a point where we can have face-to-face meetings again. So we might be in a holding period, What do you think about that? Because we have to be we have to be solution oriented.
I hear what you're saying. The advantage of having small groups is people not comfortable in speaking with the big group.
Yes, I understand that. I facilitate online instruction, so I understand.
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying. It's possible. It's just that for an equity task force, it's in conflict with our charge. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I can do it. I'll still do the February 2nd, and I'll go through it. But to know that this is hampering the way we do our job. I mean, we're offering other solutions, so the town could also be flexible. It's not like we are not. It's really, where do we give and take? I mean, I would do it. I would go ahead with Google Meet. That's not an issue. But I'm just saying, if we don't question the way the town works And it's not ideal. It's not allowing for optimal citizen participation. The job of an equity task force is to point it out, saying, yeah, we can work this way, but it's not, it's really in conflict with the way we're working.
Dave, I see you have your hand raised, and I noticed,
Yeah.
Ari, you had your hand raised for a while.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Preeti and Paul and Kay. I just wanted to say that.
Yes, I wanted to actually say something before,
okay.
and if this can be actually, first of all, I didn't. You moved the community. I'm sorry, you moved the subgroups, and we didn't talk about the group that I wanted to lead on. And I don't know if you closed that part. I kind of wanted to
We
say
didn't
something.
get to that part yet, Ari, hun.
Okay, all right.
It is there, and we didn't get to it yet, but you're on there.
All right. So
we just circled back to the communication with Paul. That's where we're at right now.
I want to say something in regards to the data group, and I agree with Preeti. I think it's very important for the community to participate and to provide the feedback. Building trust in the community is so important, and that's the way we plan on doing it. So I believe strongly that we can work with our town to try to figure it out a better way to actually engage with the community, if that could be possible. I mean, if the program is not working out, what program is there in place in order for us to have the community, reach back to us? And how long do we have to wait in order for that to be exercised? Because we want to hear from the community, Paul. We really do.
Dave, and then Sandra.
Thank you. So to reiterate what Jamie already said, I agree 100% that we are in a holding pattern through no one's fault, not the fault of Paul or the town board or anyone else. The whole nation is in a holding pattern. And due to COVID-19, we're not going to be able to do what we would like to do. Yes, our efforts, our work is going to be slowed down. It's going to be downright stifled in certain regards until we are able to meet in person and do the good work that we want to do, know we're capable of doing, with the right level of participation from the community. I don't know that we need to keep rehashing this issue. We are where we are. The towns made it clear about their stance on the communication abilities right now, and I don't, and not that I agree with it, but I think we have to accept where we are, and we are in a holding pattern, and it stinks, and we are frustrated, and we do feel stifled, but I don't know that anything is going to change until we relieve ourselves of the terrible virus. And for the time being, we need to be patient with each other, with our situation, do the good work that we can do, that we're capable of doing by working with and among each other, so that when we can meet in person, we're loaded and ready to go. We've got all of our notes, we've got our resources lined up, we've got our data recorded, and can undertake the work as seriously as we want to with full participation, which, yes, I agree 100%. We need it, but we're not going to have it right now. We may not have it for months, but it doesn't mean we stop working. We just have to work in a different way and to the best of our abilities. And I will yield the floor.
Sandra, and then Kay.
Okay, this is an old lady analogy. I understand that there are some constraints, but someone once said to me, it's better to light a candle than curse the darkness. So as David said, there are things that aren't the way we want them or could make things better. And that's the whole goal of this task force. So you have to look at what your constraints are now, work with that you have, and then move forward. I mean, when we've got 24 inches of snow, if all you had was a shovel, you couldn't go back in the house and say, I don't have a snowblower. I can't do anything. So we just have to move forward with what we have. And eventually we'll get to the place that you want to be at. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Sandra. And that was an amazing analogy. And thank you, David, for the perspective as well. I want to kind of come back to something that Jamie had mentioned earlier. You know, we want to put a problem solving, you know, hat on. Given the constraints, given what we have right now, here's a suggestion, and I'm just making it on the fly. If possible, in our meeting invite, can we put an item saying if members of the community have questions or comments in the absence of a public comment feature, can we put either the attorney's email or one of the town board members, maybe Rosemary's email, where they can send us comment? Because right now, what I am struggling with is what is the level of engagement? I mean, yes, this is live streamed, and yes, this is recorded on public, but what's the actual engagement? How many people are watching this? How many people are reading our emails? How many people are following our progress? So maybe let's get a gauge on the engagement and the how many people in the community are really following this, and let's give them an avenue to send their comments and their questions. That is something we could do. Could we, Paul?
Yes, and I'll add to that. We have in the town board and other committees we have what we call public comment periods. And there's not a reason why on your agenda you cannot have public comment. And we have many public people that aren't members of the town that join in our meetings. And Laura Robinson has held public hearings via the Google Meet. And we've had quite a lot of the public participate. So it might be in addition to the public sending inquiries through my office, you also might think about having a public comment period where there's a public question and answer period as part of your agenda. And then as we do it at the town board or any public hearing, we ask, is there anybody in the public? And you usually can look on the computer and see that there's people, and people speak up and say, I'd like to speak, and they volunteer. Or another way we've done it is that people send in comments that they want read by the committee. So there's a number of ways to have the public participate, but one might be to hold as part of your agenda to have a public comment portion of the agenda where the public, because there may be people in the public that want to have a comment on something. So that's an option, but certainly sending communications anytime the public wants to communicate with your task force. There's no reason why we can't have some sort of a link on the I'll talk to our tech person about some way that there is a communication link so that people can communicate by email through my office or directly with the task force.
That would be great.
Add something to that. I work with the IT guy because I work in community programs and we have a lot of issues with communicating with the public. So I'm always working with him on this. We do blasts, which is like an email, anyone that's subscribed to town news, and it also goes on the town page, the main page. It's a blast about anything that is relevant to the town that we want people to get out and know about. So that's available. If you guys send something to Paul and then he says, Lisa, can you send this out? Like, I can do those anytime. They're very easy to send. I can do them from my phone on a weekend. There's no, it's very simple. And we also, when I set up the meeting, I put as much information as I want on your meeting page. So I could always put, if we're telling people you can, in a blast, the task force is looking for your comments and your thoughts, I can put that on the meeting page, and I could do a link to Paul's email so that he would be getting that information. So all of that's really easy to do. It's just, you guys decide what you want to do. You give it to Paul and he tells me to do it. and I can do that for you.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. And to just to confirm to one of the other ideas that Paul has suggested, should we opt for the public Q&A and public comment section? Lisa, we should work with you on the technology aspect of that as well.
Yeah, we can. That's very simple. We can, whatever you guys want to do and whatever works within the meeting laws can be done on the website for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I just want to check. So for the Feb 2nd meeting, if I have like an information thing inviting people, should I send it to you, Kay? And then you can send it to Paul? How would you like me to do that?
Yes, please. If you can send that to me, that way I have a document library of every communication.
So I can send you the information, the handouts, so you have it all. Secondly is the polls I see when I'm looking at this Google Meet on my screen here. I see there are polls and Q&A. If we have a public meeting, it's not big. It won't be a mob. It'll be probably 8 in the beginning. Maybe it'll get bigger later on. They could write in the Q&A and participate just like we did, right, Lisa?
So if they do a poll, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a poll and a Q&A. So this is not the task force meeting, but we'll use Google Meet.
Right.
So they can participate just like we are doing and talk, right?
So there's 2 ways that people, so the live stream is when people are watching it, there's one link on the website for that. But if you invite people and you can share the meeting link to people, like even if someone's email is not already invited, you could share that link in. And as long as the administrator, the moderator is letting people join the meeting, then anyone can join. You know, you can have up to 100 people in Google Suite join one Google Meet, which I think, you know, you probably wouldn't be able to manage more than 100, so that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
But yes, you would be able to do that.
Right. No, I've had some people express an interest in participating, and I want it to be interactive rather than one way, just question and answer. You know, we'll be asking them to brainstorm. So yeah, so that's good. Thank you.
Yep.
So that was pretty much questions that we needed to kind of have a discussion on. The only item that I want to confirm, and it comes later in the document, is form stack is still the survey document, correct?
Yeah.
Or the survey method. Okay. All right. Perfect.
The other issue that I want to bring up with respect to your questions is, it goes to number 6. What are your responsibilities in terms of reporting to the community? I think you need to periodically, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, report to the town board on where you stand and what you're doing. And we have committee reports at town board meetings, and there's no reason why we can't have every 3rd meeting or every meeting, whatever you decide. But the town board needs to be informed about what you're doing and what your goals are and where you're headed, that sort of thing. Just a general overview of what's going on with your task force on a periodic basis. And that can be done. We have what we call agenda meetings. It could be done at that time. That's once a month. But it's something that I think you should do, because some of the town board members have asked me what's going on with the task force, and they would like to know.
That's a good suggestion, Paul. Kay, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, because we had a meeting a couple of months ago as a communication group. Since then, I didn't hear anything from you. So did you have any meeting done, or what's going on? Because I don't get anything from you. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Are you referring to the communication subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, the communication group.
So we have not had any communication subgroup meeting. That was only an interim group before a communication coordinator was appointed. And now what we're in the process of doing right now, like these questions and the request for documentation, is more of the setting up the communication protocols So, kind of understanding the responsibility of the communication officer. So as of now, we do not have a communication subcommittee in play.
Okay. Good to know. You should let us know. At least you should send us an email communicating with us. Thank you. But where do you get all these questions? Is the task force members are sending to you, or are you getting from outside?
A couple of questions were suggested, and some questions were back from when we had our first conversation with Alexis. If you remember, we didn't have enough time to go through all those questions. So some of those questions have still been since then, or a couple of suggestions from the team members. David, you had your hand up.
I'll pass. I'm fine. Thank you.
Dale?
Oh, thank you, Jamie. I just wanted to address Paul's last comment. Paul, we did send you our charge document, which included a copy of the bylaws that we voted on, which indicate that we will do an annual report and quarterly reports to the town as needed. So I guess we can coordinate with you as to when our first quarterly report would be done, since we've submitted the charge.
Well, that would be up to your committee to decide when you want to. I would say January, April, July, and September. Just divide the quarters up, and you can decide. I think it's better to present the report in person. I mean, you certainly need a written report, but I also think the board would like to hear task force members come to the town board and give us a status in person.
Okay, so we'll discuss it. The leadership will discuss it and then work with the rest of the task force on when we'll do that actual appearance, and we'll go from here. Thanks.
That was all on my end of the questions on the communication side. Again, I will probably reach back out to Lisa to iron some of the technological details in this, and then I will report back to the task force. But that's all I have. I yield the floor.
Ari, I see your hand is raised. Did you want to say something?
That was a while back ago. It's still the same hand, Jamie, honey. Just when you're ready.
Do you want to? You have the floor. Go ahead, Ari.
On the subgroup that I want to organize, I think that the best time for us to go ahead and organize it is in March, since we're actually structuring some of the subgroups right now. Yes, just to give it a little bit of time for, the groups to be built better and to do a much more efficient work. And I did send an email to Dale replying to, I'm very interested in working on that group for the communities programs, inclusion and diversity. But I think that there is a need to work for the other groups, and prioritize those groups more right now. So that's what I wanted it to say. It's not that I'm not interested. I'm actually not on vacation. I'm collecting data for my dissertation. So yeah, I really agree with the problem solving part. But like I said, it's very important that we hear the community, because they're the ones that are going to be guiding us. And I don't know if this is actually important to say at this point, but in regards to social spaces like the parks, they're going to always be open areas where discourse is going to be created. And so we have to be very careful in creating that equity part. I think that we have to be very conscious about it. Like that Dale said, and like Jamie said, we have to always focus on the concept and definition of equity, because that's what it guides us as a task force. And that's all I have to say.
Well, Ari, I want to say congratulations on collecting dissertation data. I know how time consuming and important that is. So kudos for you and good luck. Good luck. I wish you the collecting beautiful data. So I want to confirm for the agenda, that was what you wanted to share regarding working groups under development, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, great. All right, so I think we're moving forward, if there aren't any other questions about that, to the additional topics. And under that part of the agenda, there was data and best practices working group first meeting date, which I believe we talked about, and there's still some more to follow up on, but that'll be worked out with technology, Kay and Paul.
Yes, I'm done with that group, but I do have another item that I wanted to propose we discuss at the next meeting. Is this a good time to say that? I have another item which I want to propose, not related to data and best practices. Yeah.
I hear that. And what I think you want to add something to additional items.
I want to add for the next meeting, but I just want to tell you what it is. It's nothing. It's just, listening to all this about getting our resident participation. I did quickly look at are there any criteria, because at the end of some time, as Paul said, we have to produce reports. We have to give recommendations. It'll be some kind of a report, right? And so I looked to see if there was any kind of self-assessment evaluation of open meeting kind of reports subcommittees like us do. And I did find something at the federal level with 30 criteria. And so if you don't mind, after this meeting, I can email it to you, Dale and Kay. And I was wondering, looking back, it's like, this is where we want to be. Looking back, can we say we are there yet? And we are not, to be honest, looking through all the list, the 30 criteria that they use to evaluate report process at the federal level. We don't have a lot of that, but it's good for us to know what's a good standard, And so I was wondering if that's something we could discuss at the next meeting, but before then I'll send you the material. You can share it with Paul whenever, but it's up for discussion. It's just, this is how we can evaluate our work. That's all.
So that'll be a new item to add to our agenda for next week.
That is correct.
And then our final item on our agenda, I don't know if I'm even supposed to be facilitating this, but I will just move us forward. Potential student interns and youth representatives. The leadership committee felt it was important that we bring this to the entire task force to talk about this topic.
Actually, I think John was going to open up, because John, are you?
Yep. Yeah, I can jump in.
Okay, thank you.
So I was in my work for another organization that I actually work for. We were approached by Union College about interns. So I've had some discussion with a professor in Union College. There are interns, unpaid interns that are looking for volunteer positions. They, as a program through Union College, they offer something between 10 and 12 hours a week for the term. And there's people, volunteer interns, student interns, who are available and interested, I think, in working in the community, and particularly working with us. As you all know, the Public Safety Working Group is up and running. So it was easy for us to grab one of the interns. We've already gotten her on board. She's working with Jillian and helping her do the research associated with the public safety work and the police collaborative work for Niskayuna. But there are likely other Union College interns that are interested. I've gotten a couple resumes, actually. Obviously, interns are great because they're resources, but they also take a lot of time, and that's always a caution whenever when I wanted to talk about this with you all. So Public Safety Working Group has an intern, and I just want to make everyone aware of that. The term right now for Union College starts January 11th, so it started 2 days ago, and it goes through the middle of March. Obviously, interns are great and enthusiastic workers, but they obviously need a lot of management and guidance and support and help to be actually productive, and it's a relatively short period of time. So I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. And the other part of that was, I think, Pretty, you mentioned the youth representatives. I think we all got an email, or Pretty actually, thank you, forwarded an email to us regarding the youth representative volunteer positions. Those are high school students. And again, different people that I think in the community that we may want to involve somehow in some of our work going forward. So that's my update. I just wanted to open up for conversation.
I'd just like to jump in. I think a big part of this is, at this point, working on a process. So if a task force member would like to work with interns or coordinate our use of interns and maybe facilitate how they work with different work groups, we'd be happy to have somebody jump in and do that. So that we can utilize those services and also have them supervised and, meet all their criteria for either their college work or their high school credits. Just want to throw it out there, see if somebody wants to take this on.
John, do you know what department or what the background of the interns is? I mean, which program, what year at Union College, what's their, why are they interested in this?
I don't know. I think there's a system at Union College where they let students know that there's different projects that are interested in talking or accepting or considering interns. I don't know any more about it than that, actually. I'm sorry. Except that they're somewhere in the college term.
Okay.
John, how can we get a youth representation? Whom I had to reach out? Can I have one in my group?
The only information I have about that, Liz, is an email that Pretty sent all of us, and it describes the youth representative volunteer position. So I would refer you to her email sent on Thursday.
Right, and the person to contact in that email was Laura Robertson. So you may want to ask Laura Robertson.
Also, John, one more question. Whom we have to reach out to Union College for interns?
So that's what I'm wondering. I'm sorry to cut you off, John. I think what we're proposing is that rather than individual work groups reaching out independently, do we want to create a structure in which there's a task force member who takes the lead in like a liaison with Union, a liaison with Niskayuna High School, like coordinate the interns and create a structure so that there's one point person and then that person helps facilitate the work of interns with the different working groups. Because I think it get a little messy if then it's like, oh, this working group person reaches out to Union and then this working group person reaches out to Union. What do you think? Boy, I'm a stickler for structures. I'm sorry.
That sounds good, Jamie. So assign someone instead of, so many people reaching out this way and that way.
Come on, Dave. You used to be a school administrator. I think that's
right. He can do it. Assign him.
It's not mandatory. If someone wants to volunteer, please, the leadership committee is going to meet next week, or if you want to volunteer now, you certainly can. If you want to think about it, just shoot us an email and let us know if you want to coordinate, and we can go from there. So.
But what I also get a sense, Liz, is that you're interested in having an intern either or youth representation to work in the community services work group. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about, but I don't want to jump out. You know, it's one designated person. We reach out, so you know, they can divide all the people. But let me think it up. I can move now, but it's happen to be I can meet with them with the Zoom or phone calls. I can reach out to people, but I can drive for 8 weeks. So because I fell and broke. I mean, I didn't break it, but it's really messed up my legs. So
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
yeah,
On
it's getting
ice?
old is no good, and
Did
living
you
alone
slip
is
and
no
fall on
good.
ice?
Yeah.
Oh no. I'm sorry. That's like my worst fear. Sorry, off topic. Off topic. Bringing us back to topic.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get back to you. But if I get a phone number or something to contact people, I can do it. But I cannot drive.
So to summarize, we have interest in having the high school youth representation. We have interest in intern from Union College. We'd like to create some structure, organization to identify, select those individuals, and then manage their work, evaluate their work, so on and so forth. Is that a good summary of where we're leaving that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Jane.
To-do list. Well, I think that we've come to the end of our agenda. And is there any new items? And we have the new item to be included in the next week.
Sorry, sorry, I'm a little late. I love the idea of having a person that structures all of that too. I think it's great to bring in the youth. You know, having these students and interns from the universities and the school. If this needs to be taken care of soon, I can volunteer for that. Since I have already some resources at the high school, especially with John Ritter, right? So I can do that, bringing some high schoolers to help us out, and also from the University of Albany and Siena College and Union College. So just, let me know if this is something that needs to be taken care of or needs an attention like soon. So.
Ari, I think that sounds great. And I forgot that you participate, like you work in the high school and the PTO. So that seems like a nice synergy.
Right. So I can put a little flyer or something to send out to the director or the principal there, the high school, and reach out to some of the universities in the area, or the Schenectady College, community college as well. I think that will be great. Yeah.
So, can we ask that? Can we have you, and potentially, and I can help with that too if you need some help. We can collaborate.
That would be great.
Bring it together, and we'll discuss it with the leadership committee before we send out. Or we're going to send it out. Have Kay take a look at everything, and then do that. Does that sound like a good plan?
That sounds like a good plan.
I was not going to volunteer for anything. Gosh darn it. anything more. And look at what you made me do.
This is good. This is good. It's coming from an educator. I think it's good. We need the youth to getting, like to participate, and I think that is great that we get the students to get in.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just have one question, something that Arinka mentioned. Is there a, as we structure this out, is there a restriction to the location of the college? Because I know it's Niskayuna schools and Union College is our neighbor, but I don't want us to blow this up outside when we're not allowed to or supposed to. So I just want to understand the restrictions of where these interns can come from, because this is essentially Niskayuna community group.
Dave?
That's a great point.
Thank you. I was going to say something similar, Kay. I in terms of having an intern, I don't see us as employers or those who would have interns. Not that an intern necessarily has to be in an employment type situation or scenario, but I can see us working with youth representatives from Niskayuna High School, perhaps Union College students if they are Niskayuna residents, but I don't want to expand, nor do I think we should expand the scope beyond that. I think there's great benefit to having some Niskayuna High School students involved in this work. And I don't want to be exclusive, but I just think we are a pretty good cross-section among ourselves in the town, but the youthful voice would be great to add to our dialogue. But to expand it beyond that, I don't know. I need to think about it a little bit more, but.
Yeah, I don't think that's being narrow. And I always like to start small, have success, and then expand if it's possible. So, I mean, I think that is good.
And David, to your point, it's not, I don't think it's also about being exclusive. It's giving them the same opportunity as we would give any other Niskayuna community members. So kind of having the equity on that end, right?
Yeah, exclusive, I meant in terms of excluding others or other groups, but yes, thanks for clarifying.
Can I add something? I did have a couple of students at the Albany College of Pharmacy when I taught there that were actually Niskayuna residents. They were still, because it's so near, they don't actually live on campus, but they will live in Niskayuna. So I think the mentioning that they have to be Niskayuna residents, they can attend whenever or whatever, but I think that's the most important part of it,
Yeah, I agree with that. That sounds good. Well, Ari, you and I, let's connect offline, and we'll start thinking about, just like outlining some of these parameters and some structures. And then we can meet with the leadership committee, and then we can bring it to the larger body like next month. And that'll give us some time to really work through it and present some more concrete ideas. Fair? Because it is 7:30.
Yes, that's very fair. And I'm not in USA, so this is costing money. Just kidding, just kidding.
Yes. Okay, Dale, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Paul, maybe address the issue of whether or not there are any bars to having college students who may go to local institutions but are not actual residents of Niskayuna. Is there a bar, or what is it that our charge permits?
No, there is no bar to that. But I think Dave's right. I think from a personal point of view, I would want to see it. If we're going to have anyone working with the committee, it should be a Niskayuna resident. But there's no bar to it.
Okay. Is there also an issue with possibly, since this is a volunteer scholastic endeavor, are we in any way discriminating if we limit it to just Niskayuna residents? I'm just wondering, as a public entity from the town, are we in any way being limiting when we just when we show a preference, Paul?
I don't know of any committees that are in a town that aren't town residents.
Okay. Okay.
So, no, I think it should be a town resident.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know. All right.
Well, it looks like we've come to the end of the agenda.
Okay, so if you want to turn it over to me, Jamie, I'll just ask for a motion to adjourn and a second. Anyone wish to make a motion? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Any second?
I will second it, Dale.
So moved. All in favor? You can raise your hand, or anyone? Does anybody oppose? Okay, it looks like it's unanimous, and we are adjourned. I thank you guys. I will see you on February.
Thank you, everyone. Stay healthy.
On February 10th, and have a beautiful start of this year, and I hope it gets better.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you all.
Thank you,
Good night,
Lisa.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.